Your router is basically the bouncer of your home network. It handles internet traffic, keeps your devices connected, and most importantly, blocks random people from accessing your stuff. Pretty crucial, right? But sometimes that security creates problems. Maybe your game won't connect properly, your friend can't access the server you're hosting, or some smart home device just refuses to cooperate. The solution? Port forwarding. Sounds technical, maybe a bit intimidating, but stick around because understanding this can actually make your digital life way easier. So, what exactly are we talking about when we say port? Because I promise you, it's not the physical port where you plug in your Ethernet cable. These ports exist entirely in software. Think of them as different channels your devices use to communicate with each other. Your computer and router need to organize thousands of different types of internet traffic flowing in and out every second. Ports are how they keep everything sorted. Every type of internet activity uses specific ports. When you load a website, that's typically happening on port 80 or port 443 if it's a secure HTTPS site. When you check your email, different protocols use different ports. SMTP for sending uses port 25, while IMAP for receiving might use port 143. If you're playing certain games, they'll have their own dedicated ports. Each one acts like a designated lane on a highway, keeping different types of traffic from crashing into each other. These port numbers range from 0 all the way up to 65,535. That's a lot of available channels. Some ports are considered well-known and are standardized for specific purposes. Those run from 0 to 1023. Others are registered for particular applications, and many remain unassigned, available for whatever needs them. Your router manages all of this automatically without you needing to think about it. When you want to visit a website, your browser initiates the connection. It reaches out through your router to the server hosting that website. The server responds, and your router knows to send that information back to your computer because you started the conversation. That's the normal flow of traffic. Your router allows outgoing requests and their corresponding responses. Simple enough. But what happens when something from outside your network wants to initiate contact with a device inside your network? By default, your router says absolutely not. That's the firewall doing its job, protecting you from potentially malicious connections. The problem is, sometimes you actually want to allow specific outside connections. Maybe you're hosting a game server for friends. Maybe you want to access your home computer remotely from work. Maybe you've got a security camera system that needs external access. This is where port forwarding enters the picture. Port forwarding is essentially giving your router instructions to allow specific outside traffic through. You're creating a pathway that says, when traffic comes in on this particular port, send it to this specific device on my network. It's like putting someone on a VIP list at a club. The bouncer still stops everyone else, but people on the list get through. Real world example time. Say you want to use remote desktop connection to access your home computer from somewhere else. Remote desktop uses port 3389. Without port forwarding, when you try to connect from outside your home network, the request hits your router and gets blocked. Your router receives the request but has no idea what to do with it. There's no internal device actively expecting that traffic, so the router assumes it's unwanted and shuts it down. With port forwarding configured, you've told your router, any traffic that comes in requesting port 3389 should go to my desktop computer. Now, when that connection request arrives, your router knows exactly where to send it. The request gets forwarded to your computer, the connection establishes, and you can access your desktop remotely. Mission accomplished. Here's another way to visualize it. Imagine your router is like a company's main phone line with an automated switchboard. When someone calls the company, they dial the main phone number, which is like your public IP address. But that main number doesn't connect you directly to anyone. You need an extension number to reach a specific department. Those extensions are like ports. The switchboard receives the call and checks the extension, then forwards you to the correct department. Sales is extension 101, support is extension 102, and so on. In networking terms, an external device contacts your router using your public IP address along with a specific port number. The IP address gets the traffic to your router, kind of like the main phone number gets a call to the company. Once it's there, the IP address has done its job. Now the port number takes over, acting like the extension that directs the request to the correct internal device. Setting up port forwarding isn't complicated, but you need a few pieces of information first. You need to know which port your application uses. Sometimes that's obvious, sometimes you'll need to look it up. Many programs let you choose your own port, in which case pick something that isn't already commonly used for something else. You'll also need to access your router's configuration page. Every router has one, and you get to it by typing your router's internal IP address into a web browser. If you're not sure what that address is, open a command prompt on Windows and type ipconfig, then hit enter. Look for default gateway. That's your router's internal address. While you're there, note your computer's IP address as well because you'll need that shortly. Once you're in your router settings, the interface will look different depending on your router's brand and model. Some are more user-friendly than others. Find the port forwarding section. It might be called port forwarding, virtual server, applications, or something similar. Different manufacturers use different names, but the concept is the same. Before setting up the actual port forwarding rule, there's one crucial step. You need to assign a static IP address to the device you're forwarding to. Here's why that matters. Most routers use something called DHCP, which automatically assigns IP addresses to devices on your network. Those assignments can change. Your computer might be 192.168.1.105 today and 192.168.1.112 tomorrow. If your port forwarding rule points to 192.168.1.105, but your computer's address has changed, it won't work. A static IP address stays the same. Your router settings should let you reserve a specific IP address for a specific device, usually by tying it to that device's MAC address. Once you've done that, your computer will always have the same internal IP address, and your port forwarding rule will always know where to send traffic. Now, for the actual forwarding rule. In your router's port forwarding section, you'll create a new entry. Give it a name so you remember what it's for. Something like game server or remote desktop works fine. Then specify the port number or range of ports you're opening. Enter the internal IP address of the device that should receive traffic on that port. Some routers ask whether you want TCP, UDP, or both. If you're not sure, check the documentation for whatever application you're setting this up for. Many use both. Save your settings and you're done. The next time external traffic arrives at your router requesting that specific port, your router will forward it to the designated device. You can verify it's working using online port checking tools. Just search for port checker, enter your port number, and it'll tell you whether that port is open and accessible from outside your network. Common uses for port forwarding include gaming. Many multiplayer games require specific ports to be open for the best connection quality. If you're hosting a server for friends, you'll definitely need port forwarding. Torrenting can benefit from it too, potentially improving download speeds by allowing more peer connections. Remote access tools like Remote Desktop, VNC, or TeamSpeak all rely on port forwarding if you want to access them from outside your network. Home servers running Plex, file sharing services, or personal websites need it. Even some smart home devices might require port forwarding for external access, though many modern ones use cloud services to avoid this. Now, important reality check. Port forwarding does reduce your network security to some degree. You're deliberately creating an opening in your firewall. That opening is specific and controlled, but it exists. Someone who knows your public IP address and the port you've opened could potentially attempt to exploit it. This is especially relevant if you're forwarding to a computer rather than a dedicated device or gaming console. Make sure whatever application or service you're allowing through is secure and up to date. Don't leave default passwords, don't open more ports than you actually need, and keep your software patched. Modern operating systems and applications are generally pretty good about security, but only if you maintain them properly. An outdated program with a known security vulnerability plus an open port can be a bad combination. If you're particularly security conscious, consider using a VPN with port forwarding capabilities. Some VPN providers support this feature, letting you get the benefits of port forwarding while adding encryption and IP address masking. It's more complex to set up, but it's an option for specific use cases where both features matter. Port forwarding isn't something everyone needs. If you're just browsing the web, streaming videos, and doing normal everyday internet stuff, you'll probably never touch it. But if you're into gaming, running any kind of server, working remotely, or dealing with certain smart home setups, understanding port forwarding can solve problems that might otherwise seem impossible to fix. It's one of those things that sounds more complicated than it actually is. Once you've done it a couple times, it becomes straightforward. So that's port forwarding. It's creating deliberate pathways through your router's firewall to allow specific external traffic to reach specific internal devices. It uses port numbers as identifiers to determine where traffic should go. It requires some basic setup in your router settings, including static IP addresses and forwarding rules. And while it does create potential security considerations, used responsibly, it's a powerful tool that can make a lot of technology work better. Now you know what it is, why you might need it, and how to set it up.